The sweet, sweet sounds can only mean one thing. It's time to talk a little bit of boxing with our man, as usual, the man from across the pond, the pugilist with the power, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. Uh-oh, he's already got his gloves on and he's ready to rock and roll. Maybe he's the next to step up and challenge King Alexander Usyk right now. I'm talking about none other than Steve Swift. Steve, how you doing this week, brother?
I'm all right, thank you. Yes, I'm ready to go, but I don't think I'm the person to tame Alexander Usyk. If indeed he continues to fight, I wouldn't know why you would. I'm not sure why you would right now. However, you might well think, well, there are some other easy fights for me to easy pickings. But
Well, there might be a few out there, and we're going to get into that. But let's get into the fight that did happen. What a great fight. How did you see this fight going? There were some new things going on. We had an AI judge for the first time ever. There were some new things, but you for yourself having to stay up so late at night waiting for this thing, was it worth the wait?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the great thing is for me, patting myself on the back, it came down the way I said it would. I said that Usyk would win. I said that he had superior skills as far as movement. I said it would happen that way, and it did. And I thought that it's difficult for Tyson Fury because we'll talk about the scoring in a bit, I presume. But I, I think that the last fight when he said, "Oh well, I would have beaten him if I hadn't clowned around a bit." Yeah, you might have done actually when he was in some real trouble, and then you got bored, didn't you, and thought it was easier than it was. This time he was absolutely focused, and he still didn't have those skills. Now he didn't have the skills to deal with the movement. With Usyk's movement, because he's such a fantastic boxer in that way. However, I have to say that if Tyson Fury had done what Oscar De La Hoya asked him to do, or suggested he did, which is double and triple the jab, I think we might have seen a different fight.
Yeah, it was interesting approach that Tyson took. He really wanted, and he thought in his mind he was on that front foot a lot, but he wasn't. As usual, a lot of people think they're on that front foot against Alexander, and he had great success. He had great success when he was on his front foot. I mean, Tyson's jab and that straight of his was looking very, very effective. I don't think he threw enough uppercuts like he did in that first fight. It wasn't until later on that he actually started, but I agree with you. I think this fight went exactly the way that everybody thought that it should go. It went exactly the way the last one did. I had it going into after the 10th. I had it tied up, right? At five apiece. Or sorry, I had it 6. I had Usyk up 2. Sorry, after the 10th, I had Usyk up 2, and I thought to myself, holy shit, are we going to play this game boxing? Are we going to actually play this game where last time Fury came back and he had a very good last 2 rounds? And if that would have happened, what would we have been looking at? We would have been looking at another freaking draw. And
Yeah.
that's not what this needed. I'm glad that there was a winner. I don't understand why Fury thought that he had won this fight at all. What is going like? First of all, let me get your take on this. When you heard that he was coming in at 281 pounds, what did you first think his plan was?
Well, I just let him lean on him. He'll apply the pressure and lean on him. However, that didn't happen, did it? Because you need the jab to keep Alexander Usyk off you. You need to keep that swine off you, don't you? Because he's a great, great mover and a great shaker in that way. His head movement's superb. You need to smack him in the face repeatedly to make him think of something else. So he stops moving enough for you to actually uncork a punch, to actually do something. Now, Usyk's never going to put you, generally, he's not going to put you out. He's not going to do it. Somebody on one of my podcasts today, somebody was saying, well, he threw powder puff punches, and he's not a power puncher. But that's not what works. It's the constant. And for a cruiser, remember, this man's really a cruiser in my view. Remember, that's extraordinary work that he's able to be in with Fury and make Fury look flat-footed. Now, I'm a Fury fan as well. But he made him look as if he was gassed He wasn't, but some people said, well, I think Fury's gassed. He wasn't gassed. He was just made to look like he didn't know what to do. He
Yeah.
sat down on his stool, and I think it was the sixth or something like that. And he looked. I just thought. I mean, the commentary team said it. So, there's something strange going on here. He didn't quite know what to do. How do I do this? Well, you work on the jab. That's what you do. But you won't get him out of there by doing that. But you'll win on points, maybe.
And here's the thing: is he almost had to think to himself, maybe at that moment, that sixth round, when he sat down on that stool in between, Fury was sitting there going, "Oh shit! Now I'm going into what's called those Usyk rounds, and those Usyk rounds are just a beast to get through." It seems like Alexander Usyk doesn't really kick it up. He did the same thing against Daniel Dubois. He did the same thing against Fury the first time, and he did it again this time. It's those middle rounds, because when you have these heavyweights that are legitimate, huge heavyweights walking around like this, they think that they're going to be able to just lean on you. But he has the ability to punch in really close, get out of the way, slip to the side, and you don't know anything. The only thing you could do is what Tyson Fury did. And this, oh my God, as a purist in the world of fucking boxing, anytime I see somebody throw a backhand in boxing, holy shit, Steve, that pisses me off. Let alone multiple backhands to the point to where it looked like you didn't know what the you were doing in there, Fury. What is going on? You throw a couple of elbows, you lean in with the head, you're throwing backhands, trying anything you could to win this fight, but what the hell? You're done.
And at that point, yeah, at that point, Usyk and his. I mean, in the seventh, he was smiling. I mean, they've got to be thinking, right? You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what to do here. And the thing is that there are few heavyweights, and as I say to Cruiser, few heavyweights who can slip a punch and move like that. And that was better than the first fight. It was extra. It was beautiful to watch. That was beautiful, in and out quickly, head and body, beautifully done. I mean, it's wonderful work. And although when Tyson Fury clinched twice when he didn't even need to, it's those, as you say, those Usyk rounds. It's the seventh round onwards, and I have to say, I gave him one of the early rounds, Fury. I gave him 4 and 5. I probably only gave him that. I know Frank Warren said, "What? Nobody gave him the last round, 6 to 12." Well, I didn't actually, because how could you? So him just clinching, I thought, well, you're not having to hold on, are you? So you're clinching because you haven't got an idea what you're doing. Now, he wasn't on the front foot at all, as you say. That's the thing about Usyk, that you think, I'm putting it on his back foot, on his back foot. Later on, I can't remember which round it was, but later on in the fight, on the back foot, just moved to the front foot effortlessly, and then was there. And the thing is, people are saying, well, if you look at the boxing stats, Usyk threw more punches and landed more punches. It's as simple as that, isn't it? If people are saying, well, he was robbed, Fury, just look at those figures and then come back to me and apologise. But the thing is that even if you're looking at that, or if you're not looking at that, you're thinking, well, Fury's more powerful. Usyk looked busier. He
100%.
just looked at it, and that's important for the judges.
Yeah. And he even had Fury switching stance, which really, like, if you see Fury trying to fight as a lefty, oh my God. That is just, it didn't look good. And even in his own mind, as he's throwing it, he's like, yeah, I'm not good at this. I'm going back to the other way. Right. And he had a ton of weight on him. I don't know if he was delusional. Maybe hopefully he gets a chance to go back and watch that fight a couple of times and realize there was not much different between this fight and the first fight. And he came out. Now let's talk about scoring, because even if you were to give Tyson Fury all of the beginning of the fight, those first couple of rounds, absolutely, just like you did the first time, right?
Yeah.
I had it very back and forth all the way, up until about the eighth round, because that's when you started to see the wheels kind of coming off a little bit more, right? And then by the 10th, you were sitting there going, holy shit, I've got Usyk up 2 rounds in this one right now, but there's 2 rounds left. And for some strange reason, if Tyson Fury can get on his horse and start being on that front foot, stick out that jab more, follow it up with that straight, because that straight was landing for him. That straight was landing for him. He could have come out, because by the time the 12th round came around, he needed a 10-8 round because he lost the 11th as well. So now you're looking at a 10-8. But he didn't do anything in that round to put enough pressure. He clinched. He held up. He held up like he was up a couple of rounds.
Well,
let me ask you this, Steve. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think that would have changed? Do you think that would have changed if John would have been in his ear again?
I don't think so. I just don't think. I think it gets to the point where, that fighter becomes your hoodoo. Football team, soccer teams, proper football, soccer. When you say, okay, they're our hoodoo team, we never beat them, or they'll probably beat us now. It's that. Usyk, he's done everything he can, as you say. Came in light, didn't win. Came in heavy, didn't win. Well, what else can I do then? Actually, he's just got a better skill set than you. As a matter of fact, I think that's basically it. And I know a lot of people are going to hate that because they're Fury fans, and I'm a Fury fan, and he's generally, a force for good in boxing, as is Usyk. But Usyk's skills are better, and you can dance around the bigger bloke, and whether he takes off a few stone, he's still 6'8", isn't he? 6'8", isn't he? Still 6'8". So actually, he's going to look far more ungainly, and he generally does. And you're just going to get danced around unless you do something to stop him. So that's it.
And it's tough to do, because you got to remember, in the world of heavyweight boxing right now, Alexander Usyk is one of the smallest guys, stature-wise, not necessarily weight-wise, stature-wise. So it's really hard for a guy. It was hard for a guy Tyson Fury size to be able to get down to that body. Right? When he was able to get there, you could see it affected him. And I want to bring this up in a second, because this leads me to a point that I want to make in the future of this. If you can't get down there on these guys like that, you're constantly trying to punch for the head. And trying to punch down, as you know, in the world of boxing, is much harder to do than trying to punch up. Because punching up, you've got a much better chance of catching somebody than trying to punch down. Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with Tyson Fury. Now, when you look ahead, because we talk about Frank Warren, and we talk how he just seemed to be, all right, you lost, bloop, you're out of here. I got a guy standing in the wings who's waiting for it. And in comes Daniel Dubois, just like the cock of the walk, asking for his revenge, like he's Clubber Lang, in a Rocky movie or something like this. And it seemed a little early in that interview process for me, first of all, because they kind of killed all of his heat and went right back to what they were talking about. Did you think Dubois was actually going to get in there?
Yeah, I thought it might be a nose to nose thing, like in wrestling where they come out, you've won the number one contendership. Well, here's the champion standing in the aisle. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's the business of boxing, isn't it? Frank Warren is an old hand at this. And, just to say that when he was talking about the scorecards, and I've said this earlier in my podcast, that he didn't say, oh, we was robbed or anything like that. He said, I'm flabbergasted, or words to that effect. And he talked about the scores, but he didn't, he knows the business of boxing. He knows that, the frailty of results of boxing and all of that. And the frailty of the human form, both in people who are judging it and people in the ring. So he knows the business of boxing extremely well. Dubois it would seem to be the next person. It would seem to be the next, and he's had some success, against Mr. Usyk. I think that working the body is the only Achilles heel with Usyk. I've said this before,
and we saw that with Dubois in their last fight. Because listen, I'm a huge fan of Alexander Usyk and everything that he has done in boxing. But you know as well as I do, that was not a low blow. That was right on the belt line in their last fight. So I don't want to hear any bullshit. And he went down from it and used it to his advantage. What? I see you shaking your finger at me, young man. All right, bring it.
Now, at the beginning of any fight, a referee should say, I went through the instructions, and I want a clear fight, I want a clean fight. Stop punching when I say. Some referees say anything above here is fine, anything below here is not fine. Referee never said that. Never said that. So it was on the belt line. But the referee, he could have had it. He could have had it up to his nipples, mate. Could have had it up to his nipples. Which is a Wednesday night to me, up to the nipples. However, can't say too much about it. However, he didn't say it, so it's on the belt line, and the rules say They say that that's a low blow. Now there were issues, and it's not Usyk's issue. There were issues with the ref then saying, take your time, and Usyk saying, well, I'm all right. I want to stop. Take your time. You get 5 minutes. Take your time. No, I'd like to stop. Take your time. That looked a bit dodgy to me, and it's not Usyk's issue. That right. So I'd take issue with that. I'm a stickler for the rules.
Now, but here's the thing: when you talk about it, and we just talked about this, a guy like Daniel Dubois, who's a huge human, but he's not a Tyson Fury. So he has just by stature, he has the ability. He doesn't have to reach down, doesn't have to dig down as far to be able to hit that body. So this time around, I mean, they only fought a year ago. It'll be 2025 if they make it happen. So a year and a half, maybe up to 2 years by the time. Is that enough time for Daniel Dubois to show that he earns it when his biggest win, most to date, is his win over AJ? And some would say AJ is a shot fucking heavyweight.
I would say that. I would say that this kind of ennui he's got, which is the mental issues around fighting and all of that. I would say just shot heavyweight. Yeah. And I think this talk of Eddie Hearn, well done, Eddie, for doing it. I think the only fight to make is AJ versus Tyson Fury. I don't want to hear that. I can get a whiff of that. However,
yeah,
go on,
please. You.
Well, on the other side of things, Usyk versus Dubois. Dubois got to come through. He has got to prove himself. You're quite right, and he has got to legitimize himself in that way. However, he's already legitimized against Usyk. Two things, aren't there? Got to legitimize yourself and hold on to that belt. That's the one side. The other side is, if I'm a contender for this, I've already put you down. So that makes him a bit legitimate. Now, is there any way to train your body to be able to take those kind of punches? So that's what Usyk's going to have to do if they fight.
Because you got to remember, Usyk's still the A side, no matter what happens on that. Usyk gave up belts so that others could fight for them. Here's a Christmas present for you, young man. You go right ahead and come back to me when it's all nice and polished up, because that's really kind of the way that it looks in this situation. And you talked about earlier, like the fight to make, is AJ and Fury again. I mean, that might be, but if we're going to talk about rematches, let's talk about a rematch who somebody we talked about last week on there who happened to be at the fights, sitting right next to one Lennox Lewis, who's talked about it. I mean, Klitschko, it was sitting there. I think that Fury missed an opportunity because he was a baby and stormed out of the ring and left, right? Very unprofessional, in my opinion. Whether you win, lost, draw, whatever the case may be, you stick around and you talk about it. But he missed out on an opportunity. If we're calling out fights and we're calling out matches, and it's clear that you're going to want to do Usyk versus Dubois on this one, and I'm not going to get a third one. Well, you know what? I pull a Brock Lesnar Undertaker moment out of UFC, and as I'm walking past Klitschko, I just make sure the cameras are on, and I'm like, so, you think you're ready to come back? Let's do this. And you create that moment in that business of boxing. I think that's where Fury missed out because he's a baby.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, Hearn must have been thinking, ooh, he must have been thinking, stop, no, stop, and yeah, that is the fight. That is the fight, because we're not talking about titles anymore for Tyson Fury. He's got a couple left in him, if that. I mean, this might have taken all the heart out of him. You never know. But it's a bit like Chisora, isn't it? On a much smaller scale. But he's not going to be a titleist now. So might as well get something that's going to make the actors, going to make the cash, the Spondulics, and also going to entertain us. It's got the story, the old lion coming back, the kind of tatty lion now who's been to the top of the mountain has now tumbled down a bit. That's a great story to tell.
Yeah. And if you talk about guys up and coming, the next level of it, that card also had a fight, 2 fights prior to the main event, the feature fight before the co-main event of heavyweights, where a young 19-year-old phenom steps in and just starches his opponent. What do you think about this young kid?
Are we talking about Moses?
Yes.
Extraordinary. And that's what you want to do, isn't it? I've got a big opportunity here. So really, I don't want to carry him and have a nice walk around with him. What I'll do is I'll just TKFO him, and then that'll get people talking. It's great. That's the business of boxing and the boxing of boxing. If he can do that, and he can, and he could, and it was up right from the beginning. Well, actually, I thought that he might be given a harder time, actually, but he made that opportunity, took it. That's what you need to do. Because as you said, with Klitschko and Fury, they don't come around that often, do they?
No, they certainly don't. And before we wrap this up, I want to throw this out there very quickly because news has come down in the last little while. The WBC, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't think they were up to their tricks before, they're up to their freaking tricks now. I'm sure that we remember a gentleman by the name of Badu Jack. Well, Badu Jack is black and back. I mean, he is unbelievable. It's like something out of CB4 all of a sudden. But not only did they bring him back, they reinstated him. They reinstated him as champion because of what's going on in the WBC, because of what's going on with Don King and his fighter, the last fight that happened with Ryan Rozicki and Peralta. Again, there's no conclusion to this cruiserweight belt for the WBC. So they thought it would be in their best interest to reinstate Badu Jack. Badu Jack comes back and he's like, yep, I'm in for it. Let's unify these belts. Give me Chris Billum-Smith. Give me Tayo Pataya. Give me these guys. Let's do this. And first they look at him and you know what they said to him? They said, that's cool. But your mandatory is Ryan Rozicki. I think this is probably the biggest fight. This is by far the biggest fight ever for Ryan Rozicki. And if he wants to see that next level, he's got to get past Badu Jack. And that is no small task. What do you think of this news?
Well, I mean, there are several things, aren't there? There's lots of moving parts here. So WBC, I'd like to see the minutes, the meetings, which said, you know what, this is completely fucked up. Let's draw a line in the sand here and get someone back. Well, I've got the number. I've got Badu Jack's number. Great, give him a ring. Is that Badu? Hello, mate. It's the WBC here. If we offered you the chance to come back, and you get the belt, would you be right? You'll be there in 5 minutes. Okay. I want to see how that worked. It is a very difficult fight for Rozicki because Badu Jack knows what he's doing, and he's a survivor. That's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing in boxing. You've got a survivor who's been around for many years, who's done it at the top level, and he's kind of still there. You're in for a tough night.
You go look at that fight with him and Adonis Stevenson. That's all I got to say. That fight with Badu Jack and Stevenson was unbelievable. Go back and watch it any single time. All right, Steve, it's always a pleasure as usual. Thank you so much. Throw it out there for the people where they can check you out.
Steve.Swift 088 at YouTube. No TikTok, no YouTube, no TikTok. Steve.Swift 088. Will Weary Guy 1 on YouTube. And Will Weary Guy wherever you can see me, even with the long lens binoculars. So yes, do check me out, do subscribe, or check me out and say, this is just rubbish, and never watch me again.
Yeah, that's what we get a kind of a lot of here around it. And you can always check out Steve as part of the crew here at, the Law Live Audio Wrestling, where we always ask that question, what's a work? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Please, as well, hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think should be the next move in heavyweight boxing for, one Alexander Usyk. Let us know what you think about Klitschko coming back. Let us know what you think if Tyson Fury even has another fight in him, or just anything whatsoever. Let us know what you think about the WBC, but keep it clean, people. We're trying to stay on the air here. I'm Chris. He's Steve Swift. We're going to be right back after this.
Subscribe now for more content and combat sports discussions. This is the law. This is the law.